They're like creatures from another planet. Monstrous eyes, minute head, weird body, ugly appendages. You're watching the very rare stomatopod. Those razor-sharp limbs mark him as a vicious killer. He uses them to spear passing fish to death. It's even rarer to see him swim, because normally he'll hide in burrows. This bizarre alien of the deep is just one of the curious residents of the largest living organism on Earth, the Great Barrier Reef. Its creations are of unparalleled beauty. Its inhabitants, diverse and dangerous. And its myriad of life forms, both delicate and robust. Thankfully, the reef itself is resilient. And yet that resilience is being tested like never before. Forces, natural and man-made, are exacting a savage toll. This, then, is the story of the Great Barrier Reef today. Its exotic but fragile beauty. Its unique creatures. Crises created by man and nature. And the radical rescue missions being launched to save this, the world's greatest reef. It's the source of all life on the reef, the magnificent, synchronized mass spawning of coral. For just a few hours each year, the marine world turns on its own equivalent of a fireworks display. Corals, both soft and hard, release their eggs and sperm into the water simultaneously. It's a phenomena which only takes place when the water temperature and tides are precisely right, usually after the first full moon in November. What washes over the reef is a kaleidoscope of colors, cells by the millions trying to find each other and fertilize. From this mass spawning, more than 300 species of corals are formed. One by one, the corals combine, eventually creating the most complex and stunningly beautiful ecosystem on Earth. The underwater wonderland that evolves attracts its own equally colorful and very specialized residents. The most spectacular and diverse of fish and plant life. At the top of the food chain, the master predator. Many species of sharks have made the reef their home, cruising above the coral in menacing displays of evolutionary perfection. Particularly foreboding are these grey reef sharks that charge at any creature that invades their territory. To the unwary, second chances are rare. Like their cousins all over the world, they're most active at dusk. It's then that they use their formidable weapons, highly sensitive receptors that allow them to respond to the slightest movement. Brute power and agility to overwhelm their victims, and staggering jaw strength to crush them. With just cause, they've earned their reputation as the most ruthless of all the reef's hunters. Almost as feared is the moray eel. Theirs is a thick and smooth skin, enabling them to move gracefully through the labyrinth of coral forests. And like the sharks, morays are designed to make an effective kill. Powerful jaws and razor-sharp barbed teeth mean few fish escape their clutches. Evil in both looks and nature, they're known to inflict terrible wounds. Sea snakes, too, strike fear in the hearts of many. They're extremely venomous and highly inquisitive. But unless provoked, they won't attack. Another deceptively dangerous creature is the butterfly cod. Its stunning beauty comes at a price to the foolhardy. When the need arises, it presents its full, fatal armory. Sharp spines act like syringes, injecting venom. Several puncture wounds can lead to cardiac arrest. While all of these hunters of the reef might terrify humans, they act as guardians of nature's most beautiful tapestry. Amid the pulsating, heaving rhythm of life in the deep lie the most explosive and vibrant colors to be found on Earth. Like spring blooms, Christmas tree worms burst open. Bountiful forests of coral are filled with neon-colored fish. And these tiny nudibranchs are referred to as the butterflies of the sea, a photographer's prize bounty. With more than 400 species of nudibranchs on the reef, there's no shortage of mating partners. In fact, they'll pursue and mate with any one of their kind that's mature enough. Other fascinating reef dwellers abound. The lizardfish and the garden eel, so timid that it emerges only partly from its hole. Delicate leaf fish drift along with the currents, their presence almost unnoticed by potential predators. While sea slugs, sea cucumbers, and filter feeders come in all shapes and sizes. Perhaps one of the oddest behavioral patterns on the reef belongs to the trumpet fish. A relative of the seahorse, it will often swim vertically, at times hitching a ride on another fish or using its unique shape to hide among sea fans. But for sheer mystery, nothing beats the nautilus. They're a prehistoric wonder of nature, an ancient ancestor of the octopus that developed some 500 million years ago. Scientists marvel at their primitive systems, their buoyancy controlled by alternating the level of internal gases. While the nautilus existed for several hundred million years before the reef, there's now a real concern about its adopted home. For the first time in history, the future of the barrier reef is no longer guaranteed. They're the scourge of paradise, the ugly, deadly, unstoppable Crown of Thorns starfish. And the reef is in the grip of its most devastating outbreak since records have been kept. Alarmingly, man stands accused of helping them to multiply. In plague proportions, the number of these coral killers is put in the millions. Theirs is an insidious attack. Spreading out their spiny arms, they suck the life out of a coral. What they leave is a trail of devastation. A lifeless, algae-covered wasteland where incredible beauty once stood. To keep their relentless march in check, authorities have sanctioned several resort operators to kill off as many starfish as they can. Divers are being armed with injection rods to squirt a mixture of swimming pool cleaning acid and warm water into them. But the Crown of Thorns are formidable. Unless they're stabbed in each arm, they simply discard the injured appendage and grow another in its place. Once the coral is wiped out, it takes many years for the reef to grow back. Only the annual mass spawning ensures the regeneration of the corals, with the staghorns quickest to recover. One solution to the threat could have been the Crown of Thorns' only known predator, the triton shell. But this creature is now all but fished out, ensuring the starfish plagues remain a permanent part of reef ecology. Even the surging seas that result from cyclones do little to hinder the charge of the Crown of Thorns. For the reef itself, though, these tempests exact a crippling toll, levelling entire forests of coral. Land-based storms, too, have a profound effect. Floods, in particular, wash huge amounts of silt into the sea, smothering all before them. But it's not just the reef being affected. As we're about to witness, humans are having a direct impact on many creatures on the reef. At the Great Barrier Reef's most popular dive site, the cod hole, humans are killing the residents with kindness. What might make for a great picture opportunity, stroking these gentle giants actually leads to their demise. Constant daily contact with potato cod results in the fish losing the vital layer of protective mucus that covers its skin. Without it, they're exposed to infections and disease. Regular visitors have reported a drastic reduction in cod numbers. To counter the trend, authorities have recommended feeding be restricted to dive masters only. Other swimmers are threatening the biggest resident of the reef, the placid whale shark. Scenes like these, where one poor creature is besieged by day trippers, should sound alarm bells for the future of tourism in the region. This whale shark was harassed to the extent one person even tried to surf him. Another event that was initially thought to be a natural phenomenon has now also been levelled at man: coral bleaching. With global warming raising the water temperature, it's thought that corals are coming under increasing stress, discharging their symbiotic algae and stripping them of all their colour. The long-term legacy of the greenhouse effect on the reef remains one of the most puzzling and potentially significant aspects of the marine park's future survival. Despite the massive pressures being placed on the reef by man and nature, there are many heartening signs of survival, like the emergence of newly hatched baby turtles. Relationships guaranteeing the mutual survival of two or more species are found everywhere on the reef, like the shared existence of the anemone fish and its unique home, and the goby and its loyal friend. Decorated in brilliant colors, feisty clownfish cover themselves with a layer of protective mucus, thus allowing them to dart into the protective haven of a stinging anemone. These tentacles are deadly to all but these anemone fish. They revel in its perilous lair, playfully dancing about, almost teasing predators. In here, it is completely safe. To help its survival, the alphide shrimp has manufactured a very congenial relationship with the goby. Pairs of both species will share the same burrow. The shrimp has poor eyesight, so it keeps in constant contact with the fish with its long antennae. When trouble arises, the goby flicks its tail, alerting its co-tenant to make a hasty retreat. In exchange for this private security service, upkeep of the burrow is the shrimp's responsibility. One of the most sought-after commodities on the reef are coral shrimps. Fish will travel long distances to allow the tiny shrimps to clean fungal growths around their mouths and gills. Even the reef's larger creatures have developed their own survival plans, like this massive manta ray and the two sharks that shadow it. It's a union only they have answers to. Everywhere, relationships like these add to the magic of the Great Barrier Reef, the only living organism that can be seen from the moon. Elsewhere, the structure of the reef also provides valuable defense mechanisms for some. Beautifully colored damselfish use the abrasive edges of the staghorns as their safety barrier. Many species of smaller reef animals rarely stray beyond the boundaries of the coral, where they've mastered the art of elusive retreat. Some fish are so protective, they swim at intruders, even divers, in a bid to scare them off. Camouflage, too, is an extremely effective tool in these dangerous waters, with many masters of deception. But undoubtedly, the king of camouflage is the peacock sole. He's perfected the ability to merge with the ocean floor, even when swimming. If attacked, glands at the base of the spines of the dorsal fin contain a milky toxin which eject poison. Scorpionfish lie absolutely still for great lengths of time, lulling all around them into a false sense of security. With different colored flaps of skin protruding from all over its body, it blends in with its environment perfectly. Using extraordinary powers of cunning, it'll gently wave its skin folds and nudge unwary prey into the danger zone. The hapless victim believes it's been simply brushed gently by the frond of a weed. Until this, a blindingly fast attack. The sleepy crocodile fish, too, is a cagey predator and almost impossible to detect. It will lie motionless amongst silt and weeds for hours to blend in with its environment. Only the slightest movement of an eyeball gives its game away. But of all the creatures that use color to adapt to their surroundings, none does it more dramatically than the octopus. So skilled are they in the art of camouflage, they're rarely seen. Only when excited or threatened will its full repertoire of disguises be unveiled. Small, elastic bags of pigment in its skin enable the octopus to alter its appearance so dramatically. By contracting and stretching these bags simultaneously, the right color combination is found to suit the environment. Similar colorful displays are performed by the octopus's cousin, the inquisitive cuttlefish. These highly intelligent creatures use their brain as much as their physical capabilities to lure prey. Then there's the gaudily colored mandarin fish, so shy that he lives behind the cover of staghorn corals. Rather than scales, these delicate fish are protected by a thick, slimy mucus coating. But what really sets the mandarin fish apart are their courtship and mating ceremonies. The larger males won't have anything to do with the fairer sex during the day, but as the sun begins to die down, his mood changes considerably. Actively seeking out and circling a female at dusk, he'll join her to perform an intimate mating session. Slowly they rise above the corals together, locked in a tight embrace. Then, in a blink of an eye, they'll release their eggs and sperm simultaneously into the water. All of these fascinating rituals take place amidst the corals, the same corals responsible for a robust ecosystem above water. Coral debris that breaks down to fine rubble forms islands or cays that in turn sustain vegetation and animals. On the floor of the cay, a diverse and frantic life is underway. After the wet season, rain that has flowed through the coral rubble floats on the salt water underneath the island, providing moisture for the many species of plants above. The roots of trees bind the whole structure together. Trees such as palms, casuarinas, and pisonia dominate the islands, providing welcome relief for many species of birds. Early morning brings out the hunters and opportunists. In the shallows, a nervous crab scars for food. Offshore, a black-tipped reef shark lurks, while overhead hungry sea eagles circle and distracted osprey collide. An abundance of fruits and berries attracts spectacular visitors like the Torresian imperial fruit pigeon, the rose-crowned pigeon, and emerald dove. And everywhere, the most common of all the bird species, the reef heron. Perfectly adapted to its environment, it nests in trees, but spends most of its time picking through the shallows in search of small marine animals. Their stealth and patience make them formidable and extremely effective hunters. Nothing is safe in this exotic wilderness, least of all the tiny birds, like these helpless brown booby chicks, waiting for the return of parents with food. As the tidal waters recede, the complexion of the reef changes yet again. More sources of food are exposed, and the shoreline comes alive with water birds and other scavengers. The splendor of this island realm might appear completely safe, but with more resorts comes fewer nesting sites, more pollution, and a dramatic reduction in available food sources. As we're about to witness, man is beginning to take a serious toll on the reef. It's one of the major challenges facing scientists and governments today. How to protect the Great Barrier Reef at the same time as allowing the public to enjoy it. The legacy of almost 2 million visitors a year is wide and varied. Corals stomped on and broken by the barrage of feet, taken home for souvenirs, or tampered with to the extent entire coral heads die off. Human interference can also lead to the accidental death of marine life. This turtle killed after mistaking a discarded plastic bag for a jellyfish. Ships are also posing major problems. An estimated 10 tons of oil is dumped each week. Ballast and bilge water contaminated with harmful foreign organisms is pumped out. And careless anchoring has been ripping through coral forests, causing wide-scale and irreparable damage. There's even evidence that the reef is becoming a dumping ground. While there's been a drastic reduction in the number of popular table fish like tuna, caused by overfishing. Shark and cod numbers are also in serious decline. The effect on the food chain will have ramifications for all life on the reef. But the biggest threat to the reef comes from the neighbouring foreshores. Huge quantities of fertilizers from sugarcane farms are being washed down into reef waters. The consequence is a proliferation of certain kinds of flora and fauna over others, thereby critically altering the ecosystem. One beneficiary of these nutrients is none other than the coral-eating Crown of Thorns starfish. As they flourish, filter feeders and their predators are dying off in increasing numbers, victims of pesticides swept to sea. Coupled with all of that, the effects of coastal developments eroding the shoreline is causing even more runoff. As for the coral itself, the runoff is having a direct impact, blocking their sunlight and smothering their feeding tentacles. Also being swamped with silt are the mangroves, the only barrier between the ocean and the land. These mangroves are a vital link in the food chain and regeneration of the Great Barrier Reef. They support a fascinating natural community of their own. Their strangest looking resident is the mudskipper. Using eyes set high above its head, he stays low, but still tracks his favorite food of flies and small insects. At low tide, he'll spend more time out of the water than in it, his skin containing numerous blood vessels that are able to extract oxygen from the air. Despite their imposing armory, male fiddler crabs are actually quite shy and would rather retreat than use their extraordinarily large claw to defend themselves. Fiddler crabs play a vital role in the survival of the mangroves by eating decaying leaves to provide nutrients and aerating the mud to the benefit of the trees and shrubs. It's a long way from the coral cays, but these wetlands are every bit as vital and every bit as endangered as the reef itself. Just how healthy and well preserved the Great Barrier Reef is in the future now depends on our ability to read the warning signs. The level of damage already sustained has to be monitored, and one of the most successful ways of achieving that is to measure the well-being of its residents. Turtles are one of the best barometers. Their lives above and below water encompass most aspects of this unique biodiversity. Paramount to their survival is the quality of the sea grasses. Jellyfish, too, make up a large part of their diet. If jellyfish absorb too many pesticides, turtles pay the price. And naturally, the number of turtles declines if there aren't enough good nesting sites. Once a year, turtles will lay up to 100 eggs. This act is becoming an increasing challenge as more and more resorts encroach on reef islands. All of this is enough to bring tears to the toughest turtle. Yet, in truth, they cry simply to remove the grit from their eyes or to wash away excess salt. Once the females have laid their leathery eggs, they'll return to the site every fortnight and continue to visit until the hatchlings break free and begin their arduous trek to the sea. Many will be eaten by seabirds, but enough will survive to continue the cycle. By monitoring the fortunes of these docile creatures and respecting their habitats, scientists are gaining a valuable insight into the state of the entire ecosystem. Their other means of monitoring the environment are these amazing striped catfish. Like the turtle, they get their nourishment from the ocean floor. Theirs is a fascinating life cycle, spent traveling closely together. Like an endless roller coaster, these catfish trade places from the front of the school to the back, churning up the sand as they go looking for tasty morsels. As with the turtles, that food source is being heavily polluted. While man already has much to answer for regarding the present state of the Great Barrier Reef, the future is at last starting to look healthier. Laws have been toughened to combat all of the negative impacts we've looked at. For instance, tourist operators are now bound by strict guidelines. Even the feeding of fish for eager tourists is being controlled. At the highly popular Green Island Resort off Cairns, giant trevally are fed the same type and amount of food every day at exactly the same time, whether or not there are onlookers. New resorts are introducing highly advanced, ecologically friendly designs, with the lead set here at Green Island. Under strict guidelines, developers have built the resort around existing vegetation, with the top of all buildings not allowed to exceed the level of the rainforest canopy. To cater for up to 1,000 visitors every day, boardwalks have been placed above ground to allow the natural moisture levels of the cay to remain. All fresh water is delivered to the island. All sewage used for irrigation rather than dumped at sea. Out on the reef, charter operators are also working to preserve their assets. At the busier sites, like the cod hole, a series of permanent mooring buoys have now been placed to ensure no more corals are ripped apart by wayward anchor chains. The number of tour boat operators is being limited, with no new licenses issued. And to help the upkeep of the reef, every visitor pays a nightly surcharge. Back on shore, many farmers are returning to the traditional methods of chemical-free natural pest controls in a bid to end dangerous runoffs. Taken together, all of these measures are helping to safeguard and protect the Great Barrier Reef for the future. Elsewhere in the world, up to 1/3 of all reefs are not expected to survive the next generation. But hopefully, Australia's tough new policies have placed the future of the world's greatest reef on the road to recovery.